Let me tell you something that changed my life forever. I wasn't losing because I wasn't gifted. I was losing because I was distracted. I used to wake up every morning with dreams in my heart, but no discipline in my habits. I thought I had time. I thought opportunity waited. I thought success would find me someday. But life taught me something. Time is not loyal to the lazy. The truth is, I wasn't short of potential. I was short of focus. And if you've been wondering why your life feels stuck, why your dreams seem delayed, and why your peace is inconsistent, it's probably because you've been wasting time on things that don't multiply your destiny. But one day, I made a decision. I stopped being available for distractions, and I started being committed to purpose. That day, my life began to rise. So today, I want to show you how I finally stopped wasting time and started winning in life through 4 powerful principles that shifted my destiny forever. I used to think that being busy meant I was doing something meaningful. I wore business like a badge of honor, as if filling my day with endless tasks somehow made me successful. But the truth is, I was running fast in circles, burning energy but going nowhere. I was active, but I wasn't productive. There's a difference between moving and moving forward. You can be full of motion and still be empty of progress. That realization hit me hard one evening when I looked at my week and couldn't identify a single meaningful thing I had accomplished. I had replied to hundreds of messages, attended countless meetings, helped everyone who called, but at the end of the day, my dreams were still sitting on the shelf, collecting dust. Activity feels good because it gives the illusion of progress. You feel busy, you feel needed, you feel important. But that's the trick. Activity can keep you comfortable while slowly stealing your potential. It distracts you with the feeling of movement, so you never stop to notice you're stuck. I remember waking up early, checking emails, answering calls, scrolling endlessly under the excuse of staying updated. But what I didn't realize was that I was confusing motion with meaning. I was substituting real progress with business. I was mistaking effort for effectiveness. You can spend the entire day climbing a ladder, only to find out it's leaning against the wrong wall. That's when I decided to start asking myself one simple but powerful question every morning. What am I building today? That question changed everything. Because if your actions today aren't connected to your vision, you're just wasting energy. I had to admit that most of what I called hard work wasn't producing fruit. It was producing fatigue. I was tired, but I wasn't fulfilled. I was active, but I wasn't advancing. So I began to cut out the noise. I stopped multitasking because it was dividing my focus. I stopped saying yes to everything because I realized every yes to something meaningless was a no to something that mattered. You cannot live purposefully when you're spread too thin. Let me give you a simple example. Have you ever watched a hamster on a wheel? It runs with all its might, sweating, panting, giving its all, but it remains in the same spot. That was me. That's many people today. We wake up, rush into routines, fill our hours, tick boxes. But when we stop to evaluate, we realize nothing's changing. The wheel is spinning, but life isn't advancing. I learned that productivity isn't about how much you do, it's about how much you move closer to what truly matters. Real productivity is measured by progress toward purpose. There was a day I sat at my desk and asked myself, if I keep doing what I'm doing for the next 5 years, will I end up where I want to be? The silence that followed that question was painful, because deep down I knew the answer was no. I was working hard but not working right. That day, I decided to stop being impressed by how much I was doing and start being intentional about what I was doing. I traded business for clarity. I traded movement for direction. The truth is, the world celebrates busy people because busyness looks like commitment, but the world doesn't reward activity, it rewards results. You can't deposit effort in the bank. You can only deposit results. I began to see that time is too expensive to waste on things that don't build your tomorrow. So I started cutting distractions one by one. I deleted apps that stole my hours. I distanced myself from conversations that didn't add value. I replaced what's trending with what's transforming me. The moment I did that, my mind cleared, my focus sharpened, and my results multiplied. Imagine a farmer planting seeds every single day, but never watering them. He feels busy. He's working daily, but there's no growth. That's how many people live. We do a lot, but we don't nurture the things that matter. Productivity requires nurturing. It requires focus. It requires patience. If you want your life to grow, you must direct your effort where it counts. Every action must serve a vision, not just a schedule. One of the greatest lessons I learned is that focus is more powerful than effort. A laser and a flashlight both use light, but one cuts through steel while the other barely illuminates a room. Why? Focus. That's how life works. You don't need more hours in your day. You need more direction in your decisions. Once I focused on what truly aligned with my purpose, I realized I could do less and achieve more. The quality of my actions became more important than the quantity. When I stopped confusing activity with productivity, I also stopped feeling guilty for resting. Because rest isn't laziness, it's strategy. It recharges you to return sharper. I learned that productivity is not about speed, it's about significance. You can run fast in the wrong direction and still end up lost. But one step in the right direction every day will take you further than 1,000 steps in circles. So now, every task, every meeting, every conversation must answer one question. Does this move me closer to my purpose? If it doesn't, I let it go. Because life is too short to invest in what doesn't multiply your destiny. And the moment I started doing less of what didn't matter, I created space for more of what did. That's when I began to see results. Not because I was working harder, but because I was finally working smarter. I used to give my time freely to everyone, thinking that being available for every request, every call, every meeting was a sign of being good, responsible, or productive. I thought that saying yes to everything was a demonstration of loyalty, friendship, or commitment. But the truth is, I was giving away the most precious resource I had, my time. Time is life. Time is energy. Time is power. Every minute I gave away without purpose was a minute I could never reclaim. A minute that could have been invested in my growth, my dreams, or my destiny. There was a season in my life when my calendar was full of obligations that I did not choose, but felt compelled to honor. I was busy, helping, assisting, supporting, listening. But at the end of the day, my dreams were still on hold. I realized then that people do not value your time the way you value it. They treat it as if it is infinite because they do not own it. And that is the difference between the wealthy and the poor. In spirit, the wealthy protect their time, the poor squander it. One evening, I watched a close friend complain about their life. They had so many responsibilities and were overwhelmed, yet they refused to delegate or set boundaries. They were exhausted, angry, and stuck. And I thought about myself. I saw a mirror in their struggle. I realized that the more time I gave to people who were not aligned with my vision, the slower I moved toward my purpose. I remembered waking up on Saturdays, thinking I would work on a project that could change my life. But instead, I spent hours listening to complaints or helping with problems that were not mine to solve. By the time I returned to my own life, the day was gone. That is when I understood a truth that changed my trajectory. Not everyone deserves access to your time. I began to see life as a bank account and every interaction as a transaction. If I gave away my time, what was my return? Was it growth? Was it knowledge? Was it opportunity? If the answer was no, I stopped. It was difficult at first. People would be offended. People would feel rejected. People would question my character. But the reality is, protecting your time is not selfish. It is strategic. If you do not value your time, no one else will. I remember telling a friend, I can't commit to this right now because I have to focus on my priorities. And the initial reaction was anger. But over time, they saw results in my life that they could not ignore. They understood that my time was producing fruit, and suddenly, what was once criticized became respected. I also realized that the people you allow around you influence the speed at which you move. Some people are like anchors, holding you back, draining your energy, and wasting your potential. You may not even notice it because they disguise negativity as advice, distraction as help, or laziness as comfort. I remember working on a project that required intense focus and consistency. I invited a colleague to collaborate, thinking it would be motivating. But instead of pushing me forward, they constantly interrupted, distracted, and doubted every step I took. The result: weeks were wasted, frustration built, and progress stalled. That experience taught me that not all company is profitable. Choosing who gets your time is as important as choosing what you do with it. Every morning, I began asking myself, who deserves my time today? What deserves my energy today? That simple question became a gatekeeper. I stopped attending unnecessary meetings. I stopped trying to fix everyone's problems. I stopped being available to opinions that were not constructive. I even began protecting moments of solitude because I discovered that silence and reflection amplify clarity. I realized that time spent intentionally is energy multiplied. Every hour that aligns with your purpose compounds into growth, results, and momentum. Conversely, every hour spent on things that do not matter compounds into regret, stress, and stagnation. I also began measuring life not in hours or days, but in value. If someone or something did not add value to my growth, I politely declined. I discovered that boundaries are not walls. They are bridges to your destiny. I discovered that saying no is not rejection, it is selection. I realized that when I protect my time, I am not being selfish, I am being strategic, intentional, and committed to my vision. I remember one particular project I had been dreaming about for years. I had to make a difficult choice: attend a social event that would consume the whole weekend or dedicate uninterrupted hours to this project. I chose the project. At first, I felt guilty, but within days, the project progressed further than I could have imagined. That was the moment I understood the multiplier effect of protecting your time. Life will test your boundaries. Life will pressure you to give away your hours, energy, and focus. But the key to winning is not in giving more, it is in giving wisely. The more disciplined you are about where your attention goes, the faster your life accelerates. I began to see a pattern in successful people. They do not scatter their time on every distraction. They do not chase every opportunity. And they do not carry every problem. They protect their moments as if they were sacred, because they understand that every minute is a building block of legacy. I started visualizing my life as a series of doors, each one labeled with a purpose, an opportunity, or a meaningful task. Some doors were open, some closed, and some had locks that only focus could open. I realized that I had been walking through the wrong doors, wasting my energy on what was easy, comfortable, or demanded by others. The moment I started carefully choosing doors aligned with my destiny, my days became powerful, my nights became peaceful, and my progress became unstoppable. Time stopped being my enemy and became my ally. I also noticed a shift in the people around me. Once I began to protect my time, I attracted those who valued theirs, who respected theirs, and who inspired growth. Collaboration became powerful because it was intentional. Relationships became strong because they were mutually beneficial and purposeful. I realized that life is not about being busy for the sake of being busy. It is about being intentional for the sake of impact. And when you finally understand that, you stop being available for everything and start being available for what matters most. And in that moment, your life begins to change in ways you never thought possible. I used to wait for the perfect moment, the perfect opportunity, or the perfect condition to start chasing my dreams. And in doing so, I wasted years waiting for something that would never arrive. I thought that success required a grand plan, a perfect alignment of circumstances, and flawless preparation. I would sit down with notebooks full of ideas, charts, and strategies, thinking that planning alone would carry me to victory. But life taught me a hard truth: perfection is a myth, and waiting for it is a trap. Progress does not come to those who wait for ideal conditions. It comes to those who take action with what they have. I learned that even a small, Imperfect step taken consistently is more powerful than 1,000 perfect plans that remain dormant on a shelf. I remember staring at a blank page one morning, overwhelmed by the enormity of the project I wanted to launch, and realizing that if I didn't start, I would never finish. So I made a promise to myself, no matter how small, I would move forward every single day. At first, my steps were tiny, almost invisible. I would dedicate just 30 minutes a day to writing, another hour to learning a new skill, or a few minutes to reaching out to someone who could mentor me. It felt insignificant, like drops of water trying to fill an ocean. But I kept going day after day, trusting that these small actions were planting seeds for something greater. And that's the beauty of small steps. They accumulate. I started noticing that as I did a little every day, momentum began to build. What seemed impossible at first started becoming achievable. I realized that life is not a single sprint. It's a series of steps taken consistently over time. The power lies not in the speed of your actions, but in the persistence behind them. I remember a friend who wanted to learn a new language. He told me he would start next year because he didn't have enough time, energy, or resources. I reminded him that learning a language is not about doing it all at once. It's about small, consistent practice. I encouraged him to dedicate just 15 minutes a day. He laughed at first, thinking 15 minutes would never make a difference. But months later, he could hold a conversation confidently. That simple truth, that small, consistent steps transform ordinary lives into extraordinary ones, hit me like a revelation. Progress does not demand grand gestures. It demands faithfulness in little things. I also realized that small steps build confidence. Every time I completed a small action toward my goal, I proved to myself that I could do it. My confidence grew incrementally, step by step. One morning, I wrote just one paragraph for a project I had been avoiding for months. It wasn't perfect, but I had started. The next day, I wrote 2 paragraphs, then a page, then a chapter. Each small step, though seemingly insignificant, compounded into progress, and before I knew it, I had achieved more than I ever imagined possible. Success, I discovered, is not always about sudden breakthroughs. It's about consistent, daily effort that quietly adds up until one day you look back and realize you've moved mountains. I began to notice that small steps also create clarity. When you act, even imperfectly, you begin to see what works and what doesn't. You learn from your mistakes in real time, rather than just theorizing or waiting for perfection. I recall launching a small side project that I had been planning for months. At first, it was messy, disorganized, and uncertain, but by taking action, I discovered what needed adjustment, what my audience responded to, and what strategies actually produced results. If I had waited for the perfect plan, I would have missed the lessons that only experience could teach. Action, even small action, produces insight, and insight fuels better decisions. I also realized that taking small, consistent steps prevents overwhelm. When I looked at the entirety of my goals, they felt massive, intimidating, and unmanageable. But when I broke them down into small, actionable tasks and focused on completing one at a time, progress became achievable. It is in the accumulation of small, focused actions that big results are born. Every habit I developed, every skill I practiced, and every connection I nurtured started as a small step that required persistence and patience. Over time, those steps compounded into momentum, and momentum became unstoppable force. There were days I wanted to quit, days when the progress seemed invisible, when the mountain ahead seemed too high, the obstacles too numerous, and the results too slow. But I reminded myself that growth is not measured in a single day. It is measured in persistence, in faithfulness to the process. I remembered the story of the bamboo tree, which takes years to show growth above the soil, while its roots grow deeper and stronger beneath the surface. The same principle applies to our efforts. Every small step is like a root, creating the foundation for success that will eventually rise and become visible to the world. If we stop taking the steps, the foundation remains incomplete and nothing ever grows. I also learned that small steps inspire others. When people see your consistent effort, even in small ways. They begin to believe in the possibilities of their own lives. I remember a colleague who watched me dedicate 30 minutes daily to learning a new skill. Inspired by my consistency, she started taking steps in her own life. The ripple effect of small, consistent actions cannot be underestimated. One step taken intentionally influences not only your life, but the lives of everyone around you, creating a network of momentum that spreads far beyond what you could achieve alone. The most powerful revelation I had was that small, consistent steps build character. They teach discipline, patience, resilience, and focus. They show you who you really are when no one is watching. Every small action becomes a declaration to yourself. I am committed. I am capable. I will not be idle while my potential waits. Over time, those small steps shape your identity. They define the person you are becoming. And once your identity aligns with purpose, everything else, the opportunities, the breakthroughs, the recognition, begins to align naturally with your consistent effort. I used to think that success meant being noticed, being praised, being celebrated by everyone around me. I used to measure my worth by how many people acknowledged my presence, applauded my achievements, or liked my ideas. If nobody seemed impressed, I felt invisible, insignificant, and somehow failing. I chased approval like it was oxygen, seeking recognition in every conversation, every project, and every accomplishment. I remember posting something I worked on for weeks and waiting anxiously for comments and likes, thinking that if the response wasn't loud enough, I hadn't really achieved anything. But the truth is, the world applauds what it wants, not necessarily what you need, and popularity can be misleading. You can be popular and still feel empty, admired and still feel lost. I realized that I was trading my peace, my focus, and even my purpose for the fleeting thrill of being seen. I remember a period in my life when I constantly compared myself to others. I looked at colleagues who seemed to be moving faster, earning more, and getting more recognition. I wondered why their success seemed so visible while mine felt slow and quiet. I chased the same spotlight, trying to mimic their path, hoping that popularity would equal progress. But no matter how hard I tried, I felt exhausted, distracted, and unfulfilled. That's when I had a revelation. True success is not about the noise you make. It's about the value you create. It's not about applause. It's about alignment. It's not about how many eyes are on you. It's about whether you are walking in your own vision. I started asking myself hard questions. Am I living for others' approval, or am I living for my purpose? Am I chasing fame, or am I chasing fulfillment? Am I being liked, or am I being effective? Those questions cut through the illusion of popularity and forced me to confront a deeper truth. The more I sought to impress everyone, the more I diluted my focus. The more I tried to please the crowd, the further I drifted from the path that truly mattered. I realized that popularity can be distracting. It can make you compromise your values, chase trends, and lose sight of your own journey. And that was the moment I decided to redefine success. I decided that success would no longer be measured by how many people noticed me, but by how closely I aligned with my purpose. I shifted my energy from seeking applause to seeking impact. I began focusing on what I could contribute, not what I could get in return. I noticed a profound change when I started valuing depth over visibility. Projects that I worked on quietly, with dedication and intention, started yielding results that popularity never could. I saw doors open not because the world knew my name, but because I had prepared, worked diligently, and produced something of true value. I also learned that popularity is often temporary, but purpose is enduring. People may forget your achievements, misinterpret your actions, or fail to acknowledge your growth. But when your life is aligned with purpose, it leaves a legacy that cannot be erased. I remember mentoring someone who was frustrated because nobody recognized their hard work. I told them recognition is a byproduct, not a goal. Focus on doing what matters, and recognition will follow naturally, or it won't matter at all. That mindset freed me from the anxiety of comparison and allowed me to channel my energy toward actions that truly mattered. The journey to redefining success was not easy. It required breaking habits of seeking validation, letting go of fear of judgment, and standing firm in my own vision. There were moments when I felt isolated, misunderstood, or overlooked, but I realized that isolation was better than compromise. I learned to celebrate small victories privately, to value quiet progress, and to trust the process without needing approval from the crowd. I saw people who were admired widely, but were constantly anxious, shallow, and unfulfilled, and I realized that popularity can be deceptive. It can look like success, but it often masks insecurity, distraction, and lack of direction. I began to measure my success by questions like, am I moving closer to my goals today? Am I developing the skills I need for my future? Am I making decisions that my future self will thank me for? Those questions became my new metrics. I stopped asking, do they see me? And started asking, am I being seen by the right opportunities, the right challenges, the right circumstances? Popularity faded into the background, and focus, clarity, and fulfillment moved to the forefront. I also noticed that redefining success changed the people I attracted into my life. Those who were only interested in appearances drifted away, and those who valued growth, integrity, and purpose gravitated toward me. Conversations became deeper, collaborations became more meaningful, and relationships became aligned with vision rather than ego. I learned that when you live for purpose, you attract those who are serious about life, who are committed to growth, and who challenge you to rise. Popularity may get you attention, but purpose gets you results. Popularity may get you applause, but purpose gets you impact. Every day I remind myself that true winning is internal, not external. It's about waking up with clarity, working with discipline, and moving forward with intention, not about being noticed, liked, or praised. I've experienced moments when the world overlooked me, yet I felt more powerful, confident, and successful than ever before. Because success is not what people see, it's what you do when no one is watching. The projects that seem small today, the decisions that seem invisible, the consistent effort that feels unnoticed, all of these are the building blocks of extraordinary success when measured by purpose, not popularity. I began to see life through a different lens. Instead of seeking approval from social media, co-workers, friends, or family, I began seeking alignment with my values, my vision, and my goals. I stopped worrying about what others thought about my pace, my choices, or my methods, and I started asking, am I honoring my purpose? That shift changed everything. I became more confident in saying no to distractions, more disciplined in focusing on high-value activities, and more courageous in pursuing what mattered most, even if nobody else understood it. I realized that when you chase popularity, you give your power away. When you chase purpose, you take your power back. You move from being reactive to being intentional. You stop living by the expectations of others and start living by the demands of your destiny. You no longer measure success by who notices you, but by how much you are growing, creating, and contributing. Popularity fades, purpose endures. And the moment I embraced this truth, I began living with freedom, focus, and unstoppable momentum. Let me tell you something that will change the way you see your life forever. Winning in life is never about luck, and it is never about how fast the world moves. Winning is about alignment, focus, and commitment to purpose. It is about recognizing that every moment, every decision, every thought is shaping your destiny, whether you are aware of it or not. You cannot afford to be passive. You cannot afford to drift. Time does not wait for anyone, and your potential will not realize itself. The truth is, life rewards those who act decisively, who prioritize wisely, and who refuse to give their energy to things that do not matter. You see, greatness is not handed to you. It is developed through discipline, intentionality, and the courage to rise above distraction and doubt. I want you to hear me clearly. You cannot win when your mind is divided, when your energy is scattered, and when your purpose is unclear. If you keep giving your focus to what is convenient, comfortable, or popular, you will always be running in circles. You will always wonder why success seems to pass you by. But the moment you take control of your time, the moment you take control of your focus, the moment you refuse to chase approval and instead chase purpose, you shift the trajectory of your life forever. You begin to attract opportunities that match your vision. You begin to move faster than you ever thought possible. You begin to rise above ordinary living and step into extraordinary results. Remember this: the world does not give a medal for how busy you are. It gives results for how committed you are. The world does not reward excuses, it rewards execution. If you want to win in life, you must make decisions that serve your future, not your comfort. You must choose actions that multiply your impact, not just satisfy your present. You must dare to be disciplined when others are distracted, focused when others are idle, and consistent when others quit. That is the power that separates those who dream from those who achieve, those who hope from those who win. I want you to picture yourself 1 year from now. Imagine where you could be if you decided today to protect your time, to focus your energy, and to take deliberate steps toward your purpose. Every small choice you make compounds. Every intentional action builds momentum. Every day you choose purpose over distraction, you are rewriting the story of your life. You are creating a legacy that cannot be shaken by circumstances, opinions, or setbacks. You are positioning yourself for victories so big, so powerful, that people will not be able to ignore the life you have built. Do not be fooled by temporary applause, by superficial recognition, or by fleeting popularity. Those things are illusions. True success is silent. True success is felt. It is seen in the peace in your mind, the confidence in your steps, the clarity in your vision, and the impact you leave behind. People may overlook your efforts, but never underestimate the power of steady, consistent, focused action. The world may not notice your discipline today, but your future self will thank you. The life you desire is not a fantasy. It is a consequence of the choices you make consistently. You have to understand this: excuses will not create the life you want. Waiting will not bring the breakthrough you need. Complaining will not open doors for you. Only action, consistent action, disciplined action, and purpose-driven action will lead you to the life you deserve. Do not let fear, doubt, or the opinions of others stop you from walking boldly toward your destiny. You have the power to control your hours, to direct your energy, and to take steps every single day that will place you ahead of those who are still wandering, still waiting, still wasting time. So I challenge you, right here, right now, to stop giving away your time to things that do not matter, to stop seeking approval that does not define your worth, and to stop allowing distractions to rob you of your destiny. Start today. Start with clarity. Start with focus. Start with the courage to say no to everything that does not multiply your potential. Align your actions with your purpose. Protect your energy. Take consistent steps, no matter how small, toward your vision. Remember that momentum builds slowly, but when it builds, it becomes unstoppable. Understand this truth: the life you want, the success you dream of, the impact you desire, none of it is beyond your reach. You are capable of more than you realize. You are stronger than your fears. You are sharper than your doubts. You are more powerful than your circumstances. And the only thing standing between you and that life is the decision to start, the discipline to continue, and the courage to stay focused when everything around you is pulling you off course. So rise up, take control, and claim your destiny. Stop wasting time. Stop seeking validation, and start living for purpose. Start today, act decisively, and let the world watch as you turn focus into results, persistence into momentum, and dreams into reality. Your breakthrough is waiting on the other side of discipline, on the other side of focus, on the other side of intentional action, and it is closer than you think.